Hey guys, welcome to this episode. It's an important one for us, Bo.
Yeah, 50 episodes.
50 episodes in on the podcast. Thank you to everyone who's been tuning in and listening and watching and providing some great feedback for us. It keeps us motivated to keep putting this content out. So we thought this might be a good opportunity for us to recap the first 4 years of ACE and the things that we've been doing.
Yeah.
And a great opportunity for us to do it live. Often you'll be listening or watching us and we're on opposite sides of the country. We're in the same room, in the same state today, doing some filming here for our courses, and we thought we'd punch out one of our podcast episodes for you all. So it's good to see you, Bo.
Same to you.
In person. Look, it's been an interesting start to our podcast journey, ACE Audio. We're both obviously in video and audio format. And I guess for a start, we didn't really know whether anyone was even watching or listening. We just kept putting out episodes every week, and turns out some people are.
Yeah, it's always surprising, when we get to a course and someone says, "Oh, I listened to all your podcasts." Like, wow, you like listening to us talk? So it's really nice to hear, and it's nice to see that we're helping people along their way and answering questions, challenging ideas, and I guess our goal or intention is to progress the industry and update our thinking and what we're doing and what we're trying to achieve in clinical practice. So it's great to hear that people enjoy that sort of stuff. So
it's a great point. We aim to be the rising tide that lifts all boats. We want to rise up ourselves and take all of our people in our profession and the people that we want to support and help with us, and the podcast is one way that we're trying to do that with ACE. So thanks for tuning in and listening. It blows me away too that people actually take the time to listen to us jabber on, because a lot of the conversations that we have on the podcast are just things that we talk about anyway, and we just happen to be recording it at the time, and sometimes it's interesting to us and we hope that it is for others. So thanks guys for joining in. Being 50 episodes in too, we thought it might be a good chance to have a chat about the journey thus far, and then where we've come from, where we're trying to go, and what we'd like to be able to do with ACE to help more people. So do you want to kick it off, Bo? Maybe tell us a little bit about where you got started in the health professions, and then we'll sort of lead up to that point where you started working with me with ACE.
So I guess my journey sort of started in Canberra. I did all my study there, and I worked clinically there for several years, and to work with elite sport and all that fun stuff. And then I got a bit interested in teaching, and so I started working at the CRT in Canberra, and then got an opportunity in Brisbane to go up there and start doing some teaching. So I picked up my stuff and I left, and I went to Brisbane, and then again, another opportunity in Perth where I was the course coordinator and lecturer. So I basically wrote that entire curriculum and taught several cohorts of students. I was there for about 3 years or so, and that's how I came to meet you.
Mm-hmm.
You started running some workshops there on weekends, and I tagged along and loved what Shaun was doing. So one thing led to another, and I got involved. So it's been a great start. It's been a great journey to get here. Really enjoyed every minute of it. So here we are now.
Here we sure are. That feels like a long time ago, like a lifetime ago. You had multiple different haircuts since then and now. I had more hair, less grey, less beard. We're morphed over that time as well. Hopefully developed some knowledge, but definitely a lot of time's passed. So that was you were the soft tissue vagabond, sort of picking up and hitting the road and taking your skills wherever they were needed, right? Pretty settled here in Perth now, though.
I enjoy it here. It's a good place to live, so I still enjoy travelling around and seeing the rest of the country and other countries. So that's the great thing about this job, and also being able to meet and connect with other therapists along the way, and hear their stories and their goals and all that sort of stuff. So that really inspires me. There's nothing like it when you can have an impact on a patient, but you can have an impact on a clinician who has more impacts, a larger impact on more different people. So it's always good to see clinicians who are also just as passionate and just as inspired as I am.
Yeah, it's great. So I guess my journey started pretty early on. I knew I wanted to do something in this field from the age of about 14, which I think is pretty weird for a 14-year-old growing up in the country, traditional country, trading sort of family, to want to get into natural health. And so, I was a bit of an odd one, but started doing courses in my teens, short courses with other like professional development seminars like we run through ACE when I was 14, 15, 16. And I was definitely the youngest person in the room by about 30 years most of the time. I had no idea what I was doing there, of course, but sparked a real interest in the human body pretty early. And then through doing martial arts for 20 odd years as well, had a real fascination with how bodies sort of broke and then how we could help to put them back together over time. And then, left high school, like straight into it, studied massage, studied a bunch of other courses. Very fortunately found myself falling into a career in teaching. One of my past lecturers, when I left the college that I was studying at, asked me to come back and do some teaching. I thought, well, what do I know about that? I'd been doing some martial arts instructing, but had no idea what that might involve. So I applied for a job, incredibly got it, applied for another teaching job the same day, by chance just heard about it, a few blocks away in Melbourne, and got that one as well. So I went from doing no lecturing at a tertiary level to lecturing at 2 places at once. And so I taught at both of those colleges for a decade and a half or more, I guess. And then along the way, started to run some courses like we run at ACE, some professional development seminars, teaching the things that I was passionate about, different modalities. Loved it, really, really enjoyed it. And then in about 2015, decided to give that a crack full time. So still doing clinical work, but left working in tertiary institutions, universities, colleges, and went to work running a business like ACE, basically full-time teaching around the country, and never really looked back. I've sort of had 4 iterations of ACE. The original business partner, we ran some courses together, then I went out on my own and then had another business partner, ran courses together for a number of years. And then in 2019, where we'd already been doing some work together for a while, started ACE, and with your assistance and the assistance of my wife Gabby and your partner Elisa and others along the journey, we've sort of, this snowball has just built momentum and it's just gotten bigger and stronger, and our group now is quite big, with a lot of teacher trainees coming along, and it blows my mind every day how we've gone from just like one person in a classroom to having a team of people teaching all over multiple countries and multiple states, sometimes multiple states at the same time. We'll be in different sides of the country teaching courses, and just blows my mind. And so it's very rewarding, and absolutely would not be here today doing this at this level without you.
Thank you very much, and same goes for you. So tell us then about how ACE started originally. Like there's a bit of a story behind that one. So where did the idea come up? What was going on? Yeah, well, like you and I were doing some work in the previous business that I ran with a past business partner, and that was coming to an end, and you and I, it was kind of born on a walk, wasn't it? From the hotel where we were staying in Canberra, teaching a course in Canberra, walking to the venue, and it was I remember it's been freezing cold. It was the first time I'd been to Canberra. You lived there for a long time. That's why I left.
That's why you left. It's a nice spot, but it's quite cold sometimes. And so I remember walking along, we were wheeling our suitcases. I think it was raining, or at least very wet and very, very cold, like knives cutting us as we were walking to this venue. And new ACE, not by that name, was about to be born in the next days, trying to figure out a name, trying to figure out what it was going to look like and how it might be different. And we were throwing ideas around for names, and none of it seemed to be quite right. And we got to the venue and we were setting up, and I remember the exact moment where I just sort of pulled you aside and I just went, ACE, Advanced Clinical Education, and all of the names we'd set up to that point didn't quite sound right, and you just sort of went, huh, yeah. And we both went, I think that's it. And then we taught that course, 1 or 2 day course I think it was, maybe 1 day course. We literally went to the airport, sat down, waiting for our flights to fly home, registered the business name, and it just took off. And that was it.
Yeah, never looked back.
Never looked back. And so it's funny, like how names start, and it's often a fairly kind of unimpressive story about where people come up with ideas, and it was literally just that, walking through the sleet in Canberra, trying to come up with a name and ACE. And it was the first time we'd sort of come up with a word as opposed to, you know, a long name. So it's nice to be able to just call it ACE rather than advanced clinical education, long name. So yeah, that was the start, wasn't it?
Yeah, and okay, and so obviously it feels like it's been a lot longer than 4 years, or a little bit over. You know, and there's been quite a few challenges in that time, namely COVID has been a significant one. So, you know, you're quite the business-minded person, and that's obviously been a real challenge for a lot of businesses and a lot of practitioners that period. And you know, talk us through some of those challenges and how you sort of managed the business through that.
It was tough because we hit the ground running pretty hard, and we committed a lot of courses, and we had people registered for stuff, and we plan our calendar out 6-12 months in advance, and it's difficult to change things because the calendar gets quite full. So I think it was about that November 2019 when COVID was hitting, it was around about there somewhere from memory. I could be completely off with that, but I remember we were teaching a course that morning, and we were notified about this pandemic that everyone had thought was a bit of a joke to that point on the news while we were teaching the course. And I remember you, me and Gabby driving out of the venue going, this can't be, this won't be a thing, this can't be real. Yeah. And within 24 hours, 48 hours, it was very real. And so we had to figure out a way to continue to support a community of people that had already supported us, to give them some faith that what we promised them, the courses, the education that we promised them that they paid really good money for, was still going to happen, without any real knowledge of when that was going to happen. And so that was for me a very, very scary moment, because, you know, our income was sort of really tied up in this business, and if that all stopped, what would we be doing? And then living in Melbourne, 2 years went by, you know, basically locked down. Very, very little opportunity to come out and start teaching, and a couple of little snippets of time where we could run a course, and then we were locked down again. And you being in WA, able to be able to move a little bit more during that time, it was fantastic. You were still able to get out there and teach and run courses, which kept things moving. But down in Victoria, Gabby and I just sort of stuck at home trying to figure out what we could do to continue supporting people. And I know from the very start, I said to you and Gab, like, we need to keep putting stuff out there. No one's going to have any money. Like, people aren't working, clinics are shut. But we're at home. What can we do? So we either sit around and, you know, watch Game of Thrones and try to binge the whole thing until we come out the other side, which I did do, by the way, or we actually put a bit of time in and use the resources we've got to create some content to help support people, keep them motivated, keep them loving the profession that they're in, so that when they come out, they're like, let's go. We did that. We produced a stack of free content until we almost ran out of ideas, and we did a whole lot of webinars, didn't we?
We did lots of webinars. We did Facebook Lives. We did quiz nights. You know, trying to engage people, and yeah, all for free or primarily. Yeah, and I think that was great, just to see other people and interact with others as well. Yeah, but I guess it was, when you look at a business, you would think, well, how difficult must it be when you're on opposite sides of the country? Well, in this case, it worked in our favour.
Yeah.
Because it was, you know, border restrictions here and there, we could sort of work around that as much as possible to still get out teaching some courses. And, you know, very strategically as well, you know, sometimes could I afford to have a lockdown 2 weeks after this course?
Yeah, that's right.
So we sort of had to space things out by a couple of weeks in case that happened, or if I got stuck, you know, run a few courses that are nearby. And so it was a fun, interesting time. It was certainly, I mean, not fun, but it was a challenge, I should say. So
we learned a lot, didn't we?
Yeah, oh, for sure. And yeah, I mean, it sort of created this shift towards a lot of, you know, that content being online, and which we're really trying to build on now. I think that was, you know, if we take anything positive out of that time, to shift a lot of the workload to online, or sort of have that blended learning model and integrating some more online stuff I think that's really valuable, and we've been doing that, and that's what we're here doing this weekend is building more online resources to support what we're doing in the courses. So that's a real value add. Another thing, we've always been going off that framework of providing something without asking for anything in return. Those additional free resources can be really valuable.
100%, yeah. And it's been an ethos of ours, hasn't it? Like face-to-face learning is the optimal way to do it if you can, because you get an opportunity to engage with people in a more meaningful way, you get to ask questions, you get immediate feedback about practical things, and you get to network with people in a better way than you do online. While online stuff definitely has its value, and we're investing in it for sure, as a supplement to the face-to-face stuff. And look, as the business owner, I got to be honest, I really did resist it initially. I didn't want to do webinars. I thought they were cheesy. I thought they were typically used as a sales funnel to sell something else. I didn't want to do too many online courses because you typically don't get great engagement with people once they're in there. And then, as we hit COVID and we sort of watched what everyone was doing, the business, it was a real division. Some businesses just went, screw this, I don't know what to do, I'll wait. And they just sat down and they just waited for, if you're in Melbourne, 2 years. Others went, okay, here's an opportunity for me. What could we do in this space that's possible now that would help us stay afloat, and then maybe give us an opportunity to stand out above the people that are sitting down. And that's what we tried to do. And we saw other people that did that too. And they're still capitalising, still using those opportunities that came up during COVID, during that lockdown. And that's what we've also discovered. And I, had to swallow a humility pill and go, I was wrong. Online stuff is useful, it's valuable. And now we realise that, people actually want it. And so, that's what we're doing here.
Yeah, and so even if we look back as well, it's been a bit over 2 years since I've come on full time, so that was your first
full-time hire?
Yeah, and then I guess a little bit after that, put on your first contractor, and then there's been a few more since then. So it's sort of going from just a solo business, and then I was a contractor in a way, teaching courses in my free time, on my weekends.
Isn't that an awful idea, free time? I don't know how you did that.
And so it's obviously, bit by bit, it's building and growing, and now more people are getting involved, and the business is starting to pick up more momentum from there. So it's been, I think if you look back, it's still a relatively short space of time, isn't it? And we could see that how that's going to...
4 years is that amount of time in business.
Yeah.
I can't remember the stats, but if you're still alive in business after the first 12 months, it's like you're in the top 10%. If you're still alive at 5 years, you're in the top 1% of that 10%. Like, it's just ridiculous. It's that someone likened it to being like a gladiator. Every time you step out on the field, if you don't die, it's a miracle. Like, that's business. So most businesses don't make it. And the fact that we're at 4 years and only gaining momentum, it's not showing signs of slowing down. We've obviously done something right. I'd like to say a lot of it's by luck, but a lot of it's trial and error. We just try things, right? Some things have worked. No. Can it? Move to the next thing. You just got to keep trying, not rest on your laurels.
And I think one of the big things as well is building trust in others, and our reputation is something that we hold quite dearly. At every single course, every single contact with a person, we're really making sure that we do the best by each and every individual. So I think that's one of those things that, as you always talk about, that bit of a slow burn. So building that trust, and people come back as repeat courses, and listen to the podcast and all of that sort of stuff. So
we've got a lot of frequent flyers that come back again and again. It's heartening. Like, it's amazing to see that happen. And you're right. It is, the trust thing has been really big for us, and that's a central theme for the way I sort of approach stuff. And you adopt that early, which has been great. It's funny, when we first started teaching together, you were teaching in college, you had some teaching experience, you were good, you were a great teacher. And then you started to come along and help out with my courses. And I said to you pretty early, the most important thing here is that every student that comes through the door has a consistently quality experience. It's not about, oh, Shaun's a good teacher, I like his style, but I don't like, or I do like Bo's and I'd rather study from him. It's like, there shouldn't be a difference. It should be, if you walk into one of our courses, you can expect the same standard, the same quality, regardless of the presenter. And you took that really seriously, and the first couple of years that we were teaching together, you volunteered your time, and you would fly yourself across the country and meet me wherever we were, and a huge commitment to ask somebody to do that, but you did it. And even when I thought you were ready to start stepping up and going, you can run this course, or it's time for you to get paid for this, Bo, you were like, no, not ready yet. Give me a bit longer. And so that's been priceless. Like, you can't ask for that. So now that we have a team of people that we're training, we've got 8 or 9 people that we're teaching to be better teachers, to help us in courses, and to help get out to more people, to help that rising tide. It's incredible to find another bunch of people that feel the same way. Like, they still want to do that. And as much as I'd love to say, you're ready to go and here's some money, they're like, no, I want to get good at this first. Like, yes, that's what we're all about. Like, we want the experience to be consistently fantastic for every student. And that's why we're so picky, and the journey is so long. It is a slow burn to become a teacher, and you kind of set the standard for that, so I really appreciate that.
Thank you. But I guess it's also good to look at the way that with our courses as well, like how they're evolving and adapting, and what was taught several years ago is very different to now. So, I think that what people value as well, that, we're not teaching outdated models and methods and things that have just this way because they are staying up to date, progressing things forward, and it's a bit of iron sharpens iron. We both sharpen each other's skills and make each other accountable, and make sure that we're up to date and delivering the best possible education that we can. So I think that's a real another valuable thing that we can provide, and that we pride ourselves on as well. I don't want to be teaching outdated models and methods, and so it's always moving forward. Yeah, definitely. And you should take much of the credit for this. In this business, we have sort of divided and conquered to a certain degree. Like, Bo does most of, if not all of, the course content creation and development now. He is an absolute brain, and the quality of the courses has gone up. It's a very sharp, steep hill in recent time because of that. And so, it is very evidence-based, it's current, it's contemporary, and that's down to you, so thank you very much. But it's an interesting thing, like, it's so easy to, especially in the social media landscape, to become a pundit, to become a voice for something that people are attracted to. And it would be very easy for us to have strong ideas and just yell it to the world, and people would sort of see you as a guru. That's a trap. We know a lot of people like that, right? Oh yeah. And so what we try to do is go, look, there's some old ideas, absolutely, and we're both guilty of having taught them at times, and I am for sure. And as you learn new things and develop new skills and gather more information, you go to the next place with the information, but you still need to moderate that delivery so that you don't leave people behind, because the pundits, the big names, the big voices can be very divisive for a community. And it's like, here's the way, and people go, yes, I love that, or they go, no, I'm scared of that, I don't know what it is, and they lose the opportunity to learn something from that person. So for us, we're trying to go, here is some new ideas that to us make a lot of sense. We recognise there's some old ideas. Here's the gaps that we see in that knowledge. Come with us, like, come along on the journey with us. There's opportunity, and if you don't want to adopt it, that's okay. We've still got other things we'd love to share with you. You don't have to be one or the other. I think that's a trap to fall into. Yeah, that's it. That's, there's not only one right or wrong way to do things, there's different ways. So I think that's important, but I think it's important to be open to these other ideas, and that's what we're trying to do, is just, if I present you with some different information, would you be open to receiving that? Yeah, that's a great way to start, isn't it? Yeah. Because a lot of the time people will say yes, but not really mean it. Yeah. They'll be, well, it depends what you're going to tell me. Yeah. Well, that's a flawed approach, because you've got a full cup, right? You can't pour any more into it. And so, every learning experience, it's nice to just tip a bit out. It's okay to hold something, tip a bit out, make a bit of room. And, if what we've got to offer, or whoever's got to offer, seems to be a good fit, then you can adopt it. You can take it with you. Yeah, definitely. And that's what I love about this business, that we're progressing and moving forward, and that you're always open to ideas as well, and certainly not one of those people that's very rigid and stuck in their ways, that we can always adapt and mould things, and we challenge each other. Sometimes neither one of us is right, and we've got to go and find out what a better way is. So I think that's valuable to have that in an employer, as well as someone that is open and receptive to different ideas and inputs, and challenges different points of view. So thank you for that.
No, my pleasure. Look, it's not always like any business relationship, personal relationship. There's ups and downs, and there's challenges, and there'll be times when we don't see eye to eye on certain things, or we miss something. There's a challenge in communication, like anybody. And I think if we could give anybody one piece of advice, it'd be like, don't get bogged down in that. See the opportunity for growth, and just keep the communication lines open. And it's always worked for us. We've been able to get through everything along the way. And so it's been a lot of fun. And I think one of the things, apart from the teaching side of things, that's been a real challenge, but also probably one of the most rewarding things with the work we do with ACE, is not just meeting the people and developing this community of friends, really, like no matter where we go, we've got friends, which is really nice, but exploring other ways to share what we do. Like we've got courses, we've got webinars, we've got online courses, we've got a free research library of thousands of research articles with podcasts and videos. Just behind this camera over there is Elisa. She's taking social media photos. She does a lot of marketing and admin stuff like this. It's such a conferences, retreats. That's right. Cruises and holidays overseas where we take practitioners away and learn things, and it's just it boggles my mind how many opportunities are actually there when you start looking. And it's not just in education. You could do this in a clinical practice. You could do it. It doesn't matter what the business or vocation is. There's opportunities to do things differently, and we haven't shied away from being playful, having fun, and a lot of things in the academic world can be quite serious and stale, and we try to bring a bit of human nature to it, and a bit of humour, and we have a bit of fun, and that's been super rewarding for me.
Well, I guess the thing is, it can be scary, can't it, to step outside of your comfort zone and knowing what works, and there's certainly big challenges and risks that are associated, but being able to step outside that comfort zone, and if it doesn't work, then you know where you went wrong and how to build on that, and if it does, then fantastic. I remember clearly I presented an idea to you about a conference several years ago, and I presented it to someone else and they knocked it back, and then I presented it to you, and it's obviously something that was a bit more of a risk, and just let's run with it, let's go for it, and it was awesome while it lasted.
We were at a conference for three years. That's right, here in WA, and various different reasons we decided not to continue with that, but that's the thing, right? You don't try anything, all you end up with is regrets for not trying things, and it doesn't matter if things don't necessarily work all the time. That the reality of the world is that people have got very short memories. The fact that I've run four versions of ACE and nobody remembers the first three is testament to that, right? Very few people would remember the previous business and the ones before that at all. But along the journey, and this is the cool thing, right? If you get to be the person that builds the things along the way, you develop a reputation, and you develop a reputation for knowledge or having skills or whatever it might be, and that doesn't go away. The business might go away, but if you pop up and do something again, then there's an opportunity to take that reputation, that knowledge with you, and you can build on it. And that's kind of how ACE was started. We didn't start with nothing, did we? We started with some people that knew us, and then it just grew and grew and grew. But it could have been the beginning, and it would have been the same journey. We just were a little bit further along once we got started. So
you had the brand of Shaun Brewster, and you had contacts and people that knew you in different states, so it gave you the opportunity to be able to explore and run courses just under a different banner, but it was still Shaun Brewster there. So.
As hard as that is for here. Personal brand is so important. I harp on everyone about this, and when we started working together, especially when you came into ACE full time, I said one of the things that we need to focus on as a side project is to make you famous. in so many words, right? And you can only get so famous in this industry, right? We're like this triple Z grade celebrities.
We're still waiting for people to ask us for autographs. It hasn't happened yet.
Please. No, but so we need to build a profile, because I'm maybe 10 or more years into my career than you are, and so I wanted you to be doing the same things that I was getting the opportunities to do. And so very early on we started to put your face on things, and it's the same for anybody who wants to do this, whether they're in clinical practice, in teaching, doesn't know the business, it's the same process. Be willing to stand up and say, hi, I'm XYZ name, I have some knowledge and skills, here they are, and don't have to charge for them. Give them away, give it away, give it away, give it away, give it away, until somebody goes, I'd like more of that please, and I'm willing to pay. Yeah. And then here we are this year, you're presenting at multiple conferences, getting invited to present webinars, you're travelling and teaching, not just for ACE, but for other organisations, and it's fantastic. And it happened because you were willing to do the thing that I did years ago, which was go, hey guys, I've got some stuff to share, and I don't really care if you don't love it. I'm going to do it anyway, because there'll be people that don't love everything you say, and they're not for us, and it's all right, and that's okay, but there's a whole lot of people that can benefit a lot from it, and if you do it enough times, enough people show up. It's that whole thing, do it and they will come. Yeah, well, they came.
Yeah, I think that's the interesting thing about this industry. It's you can't get overnight fame like you can. It is a slow burn, and it takes years and years chipping away at it, putting your hand up and stepping outside of that comfort zone. I think that's the thing, you know, like it's a challenge, but I stepped outside of mine, and I'm continuing to try to do that to keep moving forward, keep the business moving forward, and create new opportunities. Yeah,
it's lots of fun. What do you want to do then in the next 5-10 years within ACE? What would you like to see happen?
Well, I mean, I love the content creation, writing, nerding out, reading, research, all of that sort of stuff, and you know, I learn a lot along the way, so I love creating more courses. And so I want to see that get bigger. I want to see that expand into other markets, other professions, other countries, and it's just keep it growing. You know, I think the more that I know, the more that I have to share, the more people that know about ACE, the more opportunities there are to teach others, so that. Yeah, it just keeps growing, keep learning. Like, you know, I'm in education, teaching others, because I'm also so passionate about learning and improving my knowledge. I certainly don't know everything. You know, just when you think you've got a grasp on something, it evolves and it changes, and you go, maybe it's a bit different to what we originally thought. So, as long as I keep learning, that's what's important to me. So I value that a lot. Yeah.
And it's also a testament to what's possible, I think, with self-education. You know, a lot of people think you have to go and do a degree, you have to go and get formal education, qualification to be able to increase your knowledge. And you've been a North Star as a guiding light for people to be able to go, what could I learn if I put my mind to it and actually just stuck my head in a book, online, in research, without any formal education? I know you've done plenty of that. But if I really wanted to learn something, how much could I learn? I've never seen anyone learn as much as you have in the last 2 to 3 years. Like, what you knew when we met was great. What you know now is in a different stratosphere. And most of that has just been you reading. You said to me the other day, I don't know how anyone couldn't find time to read a research article a night. And I went, yeah, good on Bo. And you were deadly serious. And it's possible, you could. And I think you do read at least one research article a day, probably more most of the time. But because you're willing to do that, your knowledge goes through the roof. And that should be for anyone watching this and going, I just can't find the time, or I don't have the motivation, or I don't know how to learn those things. Well, the information's out there, right?
Oh, it's everywhere. And I genuinely, you know, I have articles next to my bed, and I'll read through a certain passage and I'll see a reference, I'll Google the reference, I'll email that article to myself so that I'll have that to read the following day. So
you're looking at Lisa when you do that, because she's laughing because she's laying next to you when you're doing that.
Yeah, and it's a rabbit hole, really. Like, you know, and there's so many. There's so much out there that you could never possibly get through it. But you know, at least by reading 1 or 2 a week or 3 a week, however many that you have time for, whatever. You sort of dip your toe into that a little bit more and get a bit more grounded in the research and what's current. I think it's I enjoy doing it. That's the thing. It's not a challenge for me to sort of sometimes time can be limited, but it's something I enjoy reading and learning more about. So.
Well, it's just proofs in the pudding what you can do if you actually love what you do.
Yeah,
right?
100%. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. No, I feel sorry for our long-suffering partners. Like, Lisa just has to. She's adapted so well to the work, which I said she's standing on the camera, but she does an incredible work in the background of our business with all the marketing and the admin stuff, and a huge support to you and to me in the business. And my long-suffering wife, Gabby, who knows all too well what it's like to be married to a man and a business. We had a conversation when we first got together, and I said, I just need to warn you a little bit that I'm a little bit ambitious and I like building things, and there'll be times when I'm probably going to go a bit mental with how focused I am on stuff and how much time I'm going to need to put into things. And to her credit, she went, I got it, it's cool, let's do it. And here we are, 4 years into the business, and she's still married to me, and I'm very grateful for that. Thank you, Gabby. Couldn't do it without her, and it's not just us, right? It's the people around us.
Oh yeah, 100%.
To make it happen. So very grateful for our team.
Yeah, you look back at the old marketing graphics that we used to put up that you and I would make, and it was just, you're better off just looking on Microsoft Word and sketching something. That's basically how it looks.
Yeah, I remember
word art.
I remember the genesis of this, where I was creating some social media content, some tiles and things, and I'm like showing you, that's really good, and then you were making some that were about the same, and then you kind of took over that role for a little while, and you were making wow, they're way better than I was doing it, and then they got so good that I went, I'm not going to do those anymore because I don't feel comfortable contributing to this. And then Elisa came along and that went up another level again, and we both just went, right, that's it, we're done. We're going to stick to what we're good at. That's right. And look, that's a lesson in itself, right? Like, you can't do everything at the start of the business. You kind of have to.
Yeah.
And I think you have to know enough to be dangerous in every part of the business. You've got to know enough to be able to say that's good or that's bad, hire or fire if needed. And we've had to do that, right? But to hire or fire along the way. And you sort of you have to have your finger at all the pies to begin with. But and that's where we're at now. Is I'm trying to get my fingers out of pies, and you are too, for a better term, right? To get so that we can get better and more focused at the things that are important in our little silo of tasks. And then bring in the right people with knowledge and the skills to take what we were doing and go to the next level. And I remember somebody saying once in business, like, the second you can afford to hire someone, you should do it immediately. And if you can only just afford to hire them, do it anyway. But that's the thing, because one person equals one person. 2 people can equal the output of 2.5 or 3 people, and then 3 can be 5, and 5 can be 10. And we are both very ambitious, and we both want to grow something amazing to contribute to the world. And so we couldn't have done that just by ourselves.
Yeah, for sure.
Not a chance. Yeah. Oh, it's a heartwarming story today, isn't it?
No, it's been good, and obviously you got to give yourself a pat on the back, because it's all built on the back of your ideas and your brain and your vision and direction and management skills and all of that sort of stuff. So congratulations, I'm glad to be a part of it.
No, like I said, it wouldn't happen without the people that have been involved and that, so thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Thanks, bye.
Thank you.
50 episodes. Let's see what the next 50 look like.
Sounds good.
Alright, cheers, thanks guys.